27th of November 1989, Avianca Flight 203 takes off on a routine flight from Bogota International Airport in Colombia. 5 minutes later, the Boeing 727 is ripped apart by a massive explosion. A 110 people are killed.
The death certificates read, cause of death, blunt trauma due to falling from aircraft. The plane exploded in midair and then crashed. And I am sure that while the plane was going down, many people were still alive on that plane.
Colombian accident investigators soon established that this was no tragic accident.
There was a cassette recorder where somebody was duped into believing that when they maintained a certain altitude that they would turn on that cassette recorder and they would receive certain instructions, and what it really was an explosive device.
The Colombian authorities realized the target of the attack was presidential candidate César Gaviria, who canceled his flight at the last minute. Gaviria has staked his political career on denouncing Colombia's most infamous cocaine godfather, Pablo Escobar.
Imagine one man ordering the destruction of an aircraft, and well over 100 people on board had to perish because of his one desire to kill one man.
2 of the dead held US passports. Escobar's indiscriminate slaughter has laid him open to the full weight of American justice.
There was always a big effort to capture Pablo Escobar, but this placed it on a worldwide scale, because at that point in time, you can charge somebody with terrorism, which creates a much, much greater jurisdiction when it came to American authorities and charges that you could pursue against an individual.
The destruction of Flight 203 is the latest outrage in a brutal criminal career that began when Escobar was just a boy. The son of a farmer and a schoolteacher, the future drug lord grew up in the dangerous streets of Medellín in the northwest of Colombia.
He initially started robbing gravestones from cemeteries and shaving the names off and then reselling them.
He was known to local law enforcement. He was a car thief. He was a bit of a thug, juvenile delinquent, if you will. That was his background.
But he soon realized there was a better way to make big bucks: smuggling cocaine. At the time, cocaine was grown and processed in Chile, Peru, and Bolivia. Then the marijuana smugglers of Colombia began to take an interest in this more profitable drug.
They started to bring in cocaine from Peru, from Bolivia, and converting it into cocaine hydrochloride. And then from there, they had access to the Caribbean Ocean, and they were able to use some of the Caribbean islands as transshipment points into the United States, principally southern Florida.
By 1985, 8 million Americans are hooked on the cocaine flooding into the country from Colombia. The DEA faces an uphill battle to identify the traffickers behind the surge in demand for this new must-have drug.
The 1980s were really the boom era, if you will, of cocaine here in the United States. And for some reason, it became a status symbol. You know, it became a fad, and you were not part of the in crowd unless you had large quantities of cocaine or used large quantities of cocaine. And as a result of that, you know, it became the economic law of supply and demand. And the Colombian criminals are probably some of the more astute in the world. And we started to see, you know, emissaries of the cartels from Colombia coming into the United States and opening up distribution points, you know, throughout the United States.
There was a market for cocaine, and there was nobody filling the market. And so Colombia jumped in because they were very well positioned geographically, and they had the infrastructure, and they had the know-how.
At 26, Escobar enters the cocaine business and rises quickly from smuggler to trafficker and then producer. Nothing and no one gets in his way.
He was arrested in the early 1980s with 18 kilograms of cocaine by the Colombian National Police. He was let go because he threatened the judge, and then he went after the police officers that arrested him and had them all killed.
Escobar became very powerful because he was willing to do whatever it took to advance the cocaine business.
By the mid-1980s, he is head of the powerful and infamous cocaine organization known as the Medellín Cartel, and the payoff is colossal.
Pablo Escobar's organization was huge. He had the money to make it huge. Forbes magazine came out with their richest men in the world, and he was right near the top of the list. So right off the bat, you knew that this man was not a millionaire, he was a billionaire.
Escobar flaunts his immense fortune by building a vast luxury estate in the hills near Medellín.
The ranch had 9 man-made lakes, water slides, life-size dinosaurs made out of fiberglass. We estimate that he easily spent, maybe about $10 million in constructing that ranch. It made me angry because I knew that the mortar and concrete of that entire structure had come from blood money.
The cocaine godfather's tainted millions buy more than just fancy homes. He uses them to win the hearts and minds of the poor, paying for food banks, hospitals, and homes for slum dwellers makes Escobar a hero.
Pablo Escobar exploited poverty.
But he was doing that not for altruistic, but for very selfish reasons, to make sure that the people weren't selling him out, that they looked upon him as the Robin Hood, and he had places to go and hide then if necessary.
Escobar is so convinced that his Robin Hood image will make him untouchable, he takes the extraordinary step of entering politics.
He wanted to be elected to office, so it would bring some sort of legitimacy to Pablo Escobar.
Escobar's money has bought him so much popular support, he's a shoo-in as a local representative to the Colombian Congress, a position that guarantees immunity for past crimes. But then the Escobar roller coaster hits the buffers. In April 1984, the Justice Minister, Lara Bonilla, accuses him outright of bribery and corruption. He has signed his own death warrant.
Lara Bonilla leaves his office. He's being tracked by a motorcycle. He's in his car. The motorcycle weaves to the right-hand side of the vehicle. They open up with an Ingram and shoot Lara Bonilla several times in the head. The shooter was 16 years old, and the driver of that motorcycle was 19 years old. That would be equivalent to very young teenagers assassinating the Attorney General of the United States.
Lara Bonilla's murder sends shockwaves through Colombia. It seems Escobar has finally gone too far.
And then the game changed completely, because then Escobar had directly attacked the Colombian government. And that was something that no sitting president, no sitting Colombian government could tolerate.
He realized he lost his protection. That's when he turned to violence big time. it's almost like he lost his mind with it. Violence became his cause célèbre of the day, and if you were in his way, you were getting shot.
Escobar begins a reign of terror in his Medellín stronghold. This once booming commercial city becomes a killing field.
When I arrived in Medellín, I saw that it was a beautiful place. It was a progressive city, you know, a lot of skyscrapers, a lot of construction. But once I was there for a month, I started to see bodies throughout Medellín, you know, and I would leave my house early in the morning and I would see cadavers on the side of the road. And when I returned in the evening, a lot of those cadavers were still there because the police and the local authorities just couldn't keep up with the number of killings that were taking place in Medellín. And it was at that time known as the murder capital of Colombia.
But one thing still spooks the king of Medellín.
The only thing Escobar really feared was he feared extradition to the U.S. and he feared DEA as a result of that. He felt that he could work his way around the rest.
Escobar has been on the DEA's radar since the early 1980s, but its agents need an ironclad case to guarantee his extradition to the U.S. Now he uses his muscle and money to derail their investigation.
I finally had to leave the Medellín office because of threats to kidnap me.
The DEA aren't the only ones who want Escobar extradited. In August 1989, presidential candidate Luis Galán makes it clear if he is elected, Escobar will be on the first plane out of Colombia. But Escobar strikes first. Galán's murder launches open warfare between Escobar and the Colombian government.
I had never, ever seen organized crime try to take down a sovereign government the way he did. Unprecedented. Hasn't occurred since.
Escobar's attack on the authorities in Colombia goes hand in hand with a tidal wave of his cocaine reaching the United States. The more that comes in, the more the price goes down, until millions are hooked.
The addiction rates were skyrocketing. Cocaine became an epidemic of tremendous proportions.
The order goes out to the DEA to focus all their efforts on taking Escobar down. Special agent in charge, Joe Toft, finds himself leading the hunt.
I thought I was very well prepared for Colombia. It didn't take long for me to realize that I wasn't that prepared. From day one out there, you know, the seizures, the bombings that Colombia was experiencing because of Escobar and his efforts to trying to intimidate the country, I mean, it was much greater than I thought it was.
If anyone can get Escobar, it's Joe Toft.
Joe Toft would be classified as a hard ass. He was a compassionate hard ass, but he demanded success. And in this case, he made sure that no stone was left unturned.
The DEA has no authority to arrest Escobar in Colombia. Instead, they work hand in hand with an elite new Colombian police unit. This is the Bloque de Búsqueda, or search block.
In my opinion, to be a member of the Colombian National Police and assigned to the Bloque de Búsqueda in the search for Pablo Escobar at the time was one of the most dangerous jobs in the world.
But any unit is only as good as its leader. And the Colombian police find just the man a lean, no-nonsense police colonel called Hugo Martinez.
The leadership has to be from a person that's completely committed to the cause. He's going to know that Pablo Escobar is going to try and hurt him through his family. And Martinez proved to be that man.
Martinez has a personal score to settle. In 1989, Escobar's men murdered his best friend. His task is immense. Informers working for Escobar inside the Colombian National Police threaten to reveal every move he makes.
He's a very fine, noble man, a great leader, a man of undoubted integrity, and I think that very much helped to keep a lid on the confidentiality of what they were doing.
The DEA team believe the writing's on the wall for Escobar. But he has lost none of the ruthless instincts that brought him to the top of the Colombian cocaine trade.
When I arrived in Colombia, I was optimistic. I thought that, within a year or two, we would be able to get Escobar. But as time went by, it became clear that the corruption factor, the intimidation factor, made all of the normal police work that we would do up there pretty unlikely to succeed.
Despite Colonel Martinez's efforts, Escobar is tipped off by his sources in the police again and again.
The local units were completely penetrated by Escobar's people and by those who were to benefit by protecting Escobar.
Using informants, wiretaps, and surveillance, the DEA build a complete picture of Escobar's network. If they can't get him, they can get what he owns.
In order to take down a drug empire, there are numerous approaches that are taken. One of them is to attack the wealth, to seize the assets.
Starting with his lavish ranch, all Escobar's property is taken over by the government. Then it's his cash and his cocaine.
He seized vast amounts of money. And the other thing we're doing, we're trying to seize as much of his dope, as much of his cocaine as possible. And we had, record seizures.
60,000 kilos of cocaine and dozens of Escobar's top men are grabbed by the police. The drug lord's retaliation is swift and lethal.
Pablo Escobar put a $700 bounty for every police officer that was killed. And they just started killing police officers like it was going out of style. And that started a savage war. There was slaughter on the streets. And Medellín became a battleground between the drug traffickers and, civil authorities.
Escobar's thugs kill 30 search block officers in just 15 days. By 1991, a total of 457 police have been gunned down in Medellín.
The police officers that we trusted out there, that we worked with, were incredible. They put their lives, their families' lives on the line every day.
For Joe Toft, the loss of so many Colombian colleagues is almost unbearable.
I remember one particular funeral. I was right close to the casket and the stench, because they don't use embalming out there. And I saw this poor woman who was pregnant, probably 8 months pregnant, hanging onto the casket as they brought out the casket and crying, with a little baby, probably 2-3-year-old baby, that she's dragging with the other hand. I went home and cried. Just, You know, it was horrible.
Escobar isn't just targeting Colombian police officers. At the top of his hit list is the DEA chief himself.
There were 2 occasions where he put a price tag on my head. And DEA wanted to pull me out of the country. The ambassador said, "You're done here." And I fought it. Here I was working with the Colombians. I was asking them to do this. I was providing them intelligence, and they're getting killed. And then there's a threat on my life, and I'm gonna leave Colombia.
Escobar has always been able to kill or threaten his way out of trouble. But the blood flowing in the streets of Medellín turns the tide against him.
His misbegotten thought, if you will, was that, hey, by doing that, he would buy some time for himself, or he would scare off the authorities. In fact, quite the opposite happened. It just angered people that much more, and they were going to get him one way or the other.
And in Joe Toft, Escobar has a relentless enemy.
I didn't want to leave Colombia without Escobar being either in jail or dead.